Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Run it by you real quick. Apparently, the Buffalo Bills general manager was on the Jeremy and Joe show, okay, on Monday yesterday, to talk about the NFL draft and the Buffalo Bills, selections. And Mr. Bean began his appearance with a response to the constructive or just the overall criticism that the fellas had about the Bills selections. He started off the interview by saying he had been listening to their discussion and said, it sounds like 2018 all over with you guys. So apparently Jeremy and Joe have been together quite some time. Okay. Kind of like the three of us. We've been together for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, you guys were complaining, he didn't use that word, in 2018 about Josh Allen. You guys wanted Josh Rosen. And now you guys are, quote, complaining that we don't have a receiver. Then Bean was asked what he meant, and he said, we just scored 30 points in a row for 8 straight games. A year ago, you guys asking why we didn't have any receivers, but I don't understand it now. You just saw us lead the league in points. When you had all the postseason, no one scored more points than the Buffalo Bills, including the Super Bowl champions. So you just saw us do it without Stephon Diggs, same group. How is this group not better than last year's group? Our job is to score points and win games. Where do we need to get better? Defense, we did that. So I get it. You've got to have a show and you've got to have something to complain about. But complaining about wide receivers, one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard.
Okay.
Before he was on the air, the discussion was about the Bills' lack of movement to address wide receivers, including from one of the hosts, Jeremy White, that relative to peers, he said, relative to peers, they do not invest in the wide receiver position.
That's kind of obvious. Yeah, and when they did and won, he was a complete cancer.
Yeah, right.
So that probably told them, yeah, we need to go back to our old style.
So apparently Mr. White doubled down. He said, I get it. I'm just like, let's be realistic. Bean said this. I get it. I'm just like, let's be realistic. After White said he wished Bean could have listened to the entire show. Our job is not fantasy football to trot out the best receivers. You've got Josh Allen. First thing you got to do is protect him. You can't have everything. You can't have Pro Bowl wide receivers and have a Pro Bowl offensive line and an all-pro quarterback and 3 great running backs. You've got to pick. Sure, I'd love to play fantasy football, but there's one football, Jeremy. There's one ball. You can't give it to but so many people. So that's where I'm like, I don't understand this narrative. I'm a little bit from a couple of the reporters in the thing. Like, our job is to score points. It doesn't matter what receivers, what quarterback. If you score points at the level we score, that is winning football. Well, at least he was listening.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, at least he was listening.
That's good.
Yeah. So,
sounds like their GM would prefer to be in college football, where there's no salary cap and you can buy the best wide receiver, best running backs, best offensive lineman, best defensive lineman. You can do all those things. It's allowed.
Yeah. Apparently the Bills hosted a free agent wide receiver Elijah Moore yesterday. He confirmed on the team's One Bills Live program. He said there was nothing imminent regarding a possible signing. So, anyway, thought that was interesting. The Jeremy and Joe show. Okay? Jeremy and Joe show.
Well.
On the WGR 550. Okay?
I don't really blame either sides.
Yeah,
I would have expected Buffalo to go after a wide receiver. They did not. when they drafted last year was good when he was in there, but he was hurt for much of last year. But at the same time, very accurate in what he was saying as far as the Bills' scoring numbers compared to the rest of the league last year. It was really good.
We got this question almost from the very beginning this morning, and I saw it last night. And Robert asked this question: how would you feel about Amari Cooper coming back to the Dallas Cowboys?
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
He's not the player that he once was. He was, got traded from Cleveland to Buffalo last year and really didn't do much, but he was injured most of his time that he was in Buffalo. So,
yeah, I mean, I felt like that. I felt like that he was a good hand for you when you had him, but like you said, I don't know that he's the player that he was. But could he be, quote, an explosive number two? This is what Cowboys co-owner Stephen Jones has so frankly stated.
I don't know about an explosive number two.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's that.
Yeah.
Kind of have to regain some old form.
Yeah, right. Right now they have Jalen Tolbert, Ryan Flournoy, Jalen Brooks, Jonathan Mingo among them. So, and then of course, had a free agent signing from Texas Tech as well. So we'll see if he can make some.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like that's a good fit for Josh Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's got a chance there.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see if Amari Cooper. But I didn't think think he was necessarily. He wasn't a cancer or anything, I don't think.
No, I wouldn't say that at all.
Yeah. So, 5-time Pro Bowler. He's going to be 31. I think the question is, what's going on with him injury-wise, and would he accept a little bit less money?
Yeah, last year with Buffalo was just a freak hand injury, so it wasn't like he couldn't run anymore or anything like that. It's hard for wide receivers when they have broken hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, 6:40 this morning, and if you're a receiver, your hands are pretty critical.
Yes. Unless
you can catch one-handed, and sometimes guys do. You enjoyed that, Jeff? Kinda? Not really. All right. Well, we will have This Day in Sports History next, and a lucky local winning word for you as well.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Here on the Morning Drive, final Tuesday of April the 29th, 2025. Here is Jeff McGuire with This Day in Sports History.
Starting in 1931, Cleveland Indian pitcher Wes Ferrell no-hits the St. Louis Browns 9-0 at League Park number 2 in Cleveland. I don't know why they didn't play at League Park number 1.
Yes.
Okay.
I just know that this was number 2.
Circus was in town, Jeff.
That's a definite possibility. 1961, they could bring this back. All of us would be okay with that. ABC's Wide World of Sports debuts.
I love that show.
I know no one that listens to this radio station or 100.7 The Score that didn't love that show.
Right.
That got to see it.
The young people, they don't realize that there were times where you didn't have, 40 different stations of sports to choose from, right? And you only had just a small amount of sports that you could watch. And so when that came on the weekend, it didn't matter what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It could be skiing or figure skating or water polo or whatever.
Sure.
It was fun to watch.
Harlem Globetrotters.
Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah. Thrill of victory. Agony of defeat. Da, 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 da.
1981. Major League Baseball Philadelphia Phillies Steve Carlton is the first lefty to strike out 3,000 batters. It took till 81 to get a lefty to get 3,000.
That's crazy.
1986 NFL Draft. Don't do it. They did. They messed up. Tampa Bay Buccaneers didn't listen. Thought they knew better. What'd they do? They drafted Bo Jackson. He told them not to after they ruined his Auburn baseball eligibility. And that's why Bo Jackson played baseball.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good story. It's kind of a funny one.
1988, Orioles beat the White Sox 9-0. It was their first win in 1988 after 21 losses.
Man.
And we thought the White Sox were bad. They are.
I just remember that time thinking, this is crazy. Can't believe they're not winning ever.
Yeah. 2017. It came down to the final two courts of the match, but the number 7 Texas Tech women's tennis team claimed a 4-2 victory over number 24 Texas to advance to the Big 12 championship match for the second straight year.
Way to go.
2 years later, the 15th ranked Red Raider baseball team plated 4 runs in the bottom of the 7th to rally for a 5-2 win and a series sweep over number 16 Oklahoma State. Dylan Noisy launched a 3-run home run in the 7th to put Tech ahead 4-2. And in 2023, the number 14th Red Raider baseball team evened its series versus Kansas State, winning 5-2. Freshman Tracer Lopez was responsible for the go-ahead RBI single in the 4th inning and put some distance between the two teams in the 6th with a 2-out, 2-run home run to put Tech on top 5-2.
Way to go, Tracer.
It is National Shrimp Scampi Day.
Okay, I can get behind that. It's not something I'd necessarily order, but I mean, if that's all there was, I'd have some of that.
Happy birthday, former Red Raider basketball player Coy Smith is 51.
Wow.
Willie Nelson, 92.
Yeah, he was in school when I was in school, so that makes sense.
Thinking I did his high school games in Hale Center.
There you go.
There you go. 51. Makes me feel old.
Jerry Seinfeld, 71. Uma Thurman, 55. Michelle Pfeiffer, 67. Jay Cutler, 42. Ron Washington, 73 today. And one of Jamie's favorites, I'm going to see if I can get him to say who it is. Big hair guy. Big hair guy.
Big hair guy.
Big hair. One of your favorites. Big hair guy. Ironically.
I'm totally lost.
Okay. Camera guy. Big fan of cameras. Specifically Canon. Has a great trophy. I can't believe Andre Agassi celebrated a birthday.
Oh, hair guy. Yeah, okay. Cannon, yeah. Oh, man. He has lots of great trophies. Yeah.
1974.
He's got a different version of a trophy wife.
Yes, he does.
He's got a wife with trophies.
With lots of trophies.
Yes,
than him.
More than him, right?
Yeah.
On this day, 1974, President Richard Nixon announces to the public that he will release the transcripts of the 46 tapes, the White House conversations response to the Watergate trial subpoena issued in July of 73. The court said, no, we want the whole tapes. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's have 18 and a half minutes of silence for the tapes.
Yeah.
Can we?
We can. I mean, his secretary erased
We're
him.
having a moment of silence. And that is this day of sports history.
If you're tired of national radio contests, yep, we are too. We want local folks just like you, and not necessarily me or Jamie or Jeff, because we can't unless we quit our jobs, and I don't necessarily want to do that today. So that's why Double T 97.3 has teamed up with the Home Zone. Again, we make your house your home over at 50th in Indiana every single day to give away local weekly cash of $500 every Tuesday and Thursday to local listeners totaling $10,000. All you have to do is listen every weekday at this time, 8:45 and 4:45 for the local winning word. Then go to doubleTSportsNetwork.com for your chance to qualify and your chance to win $500 every Tuesday and Thursday. The more times you win or enter, the more chances you'll have to win. So go to doubleTSportsNetwork.com on this 29th day of April and enter in Raptors. Raptors, R-A-P-T-O-R-S. Raptors is your lucky local winning word today from Double T 97.3 in the Home Zone, making your house a home. Okay, let's see how good you guys. I don't know if you guys can get this or not, but you guys are pretty good about this stuff. Do you know who the first right-handed pitcher was to get to 3,000 strikeouts?
I do not.
Jeff, you want to take a wild guess? If I gave you the year, would it help you?
It's the Senators guy. God, what's his name? Why can't I think of his... Like, the guy that, if it wasn't going to be called Cy Young, it would be called this award. God. Why can't I think of his name?
If I gave you the year, would it help you?
No, we're talking like 1920s, 30s area.
You're correct.
I can see his face. I just can't think of his dang name.
The texter got it correct off the Yates Flooring Center chat line.
Walter Johnson.
Yes.
That's exactly who I was thinking of.
Walter Johnson.
Yes.
July 22nd.
Thank you.
1923. He was the first in Major League Baseball history to reach 3,000. Do you know who the second one was?
No.
It would take 51 years to get another 3,000 strikeout pitcher, and it would be Bob Gibson in 1974. Almost 51 years to the day. Walter Johnson did his on July 22nd, 1923, and Bob Gibson did his on July 17th, 1974. So when you think about how long it took a left-hander to get it, like you said, on this day in 1981 for Steve Carlton, it's crazy that Walter Johnson does it in 1923, and that it takes another 51 years to do it for a right-hander. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I don't know if it says anything about the batter in the 20s versus the batter in the 50s and the 60s, but I thought that was kind of an interesting little bar trivia for you there. If you look for those kinds of things and want to have a conversation starter with somebody, hey, did you know on this day, blah 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 blah, and then blah 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 blah, and then blah 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 blah.
It's like we do that every day in this day in sports history.
Right, we give you a conversation starter. That's just before 7.
And we give you a lot of blah 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 blah.
We give you some of that, yeah. Right. We give you in between the important stuff.
Between the blah blah blahs.
Yeah.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Jamie Lent, Jeff McGuire, I'm Chuck Heinz. Okay, I wanted to get your take on this after kind of the dust has settled and you've had a chance to think about it a little bit. Just kind of what's rolling around in your head about Shedeur Sanders at this point, and kind of how he handled things, or how teams handled things, or how owners handled things, or his dad handled things, and just, if you had the hindsight to go back and do it all over again, should he have stayed in school and taken his last year at Colorado? He could have made more money by staying at Colorado than jumping to the NFL at this point.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess that would have made more sense for him to stay in school. I mean, I think it probably would have made more sense for him to be better in the interviews.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Maybe take it a little bit more serious, show a little more, be a little bit more dialed in, a little bit less aloof, a little bit less pompous, arrogant, whatever.
Respectful, maybe.
All the above.
Yeah.
I would say that. I don't think there's been any travesty here. I don't think that. I think Shedeur Sanders, his story is still not written. As far as if Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback, he'll be able to make his way into a starting role at some point, whether it be with the Browns or somewhere else. And I think that he'll be able to overcome sliding in the draft. There's been plenty of guys that have been drafted in the 5th round that have gone on to good NFL careers. So I guess I just feel like, okay, well, this is an interesting chapter in his book. Now let's see what the next few chapters are like.
What could have helped him is his dad not saying there's only a few teams I'll let him sign with.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
and that's no fault of his. But that is something that happened, and I'm sure that was a factor with some of the teams in the NFL.
Well, I wouldn't say it's no fault of his. Surely he factored into those decisions that were being made there. If Deion said, I don't want you to play for Buffalo, and Shedeur said, no, I really want to play for Buffalo, you think he would have talked his dad into not...
You would hope that...
Yeah.
You would hope that he would be able to have that conversation with his dad. Mm-hmm. And that his dad would listen and be respectful of his son and acknowledge that, hey, my son's an adult now. He can make decisions for himself, And if he makes mistakes, then he has to live with those mistakes. Mm-hmm. It's not my life to live through him, right?
Sure.
And I think that's something that probably all, adult parents have to struggle with it from time to time. I mean, I don't think parents should ever get involved with a job interview or go on the first day with somebody like they're going to kindergarten with their kid. I mean, it's, at some point in time, you have to let them grow up and be free. Do you find yourself rooting for him, or are you just going to kind of hang up and watch and see what happens and see how he handles things?
I wouldn't say that I'm rooting against him. I don't find myself rooting for him, but I'm definitely. I think I was rooting against him while he was in college, but now I'm really not. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent. I'm interested to see what happens.
Yeah. So just the numbers for him. He will sign a standard 4-year deal that pays him $950,000 as a rookie and includes a signing bonus of $384,000. Had he stayed at Colorado for this coming year, he would have made probably $2 million plus. Okay. Now the other guy that's in this boat, and he's not talked about anywhere near to the level, is Quinn Ewers.
Right. And he doesn't have the last name of Sanders.
Right. And Texter brings him up, and I was just about to bring him up, but Ewers potentially turned down $6 to $8 million if the reports are true that a Big Ten school was willing to offer him that to stay in school for his last year of eligibility and leave UT, because look, UT was going to, it's been the plan all along, right, to put Arch Manning in there as the starting quarterback. Mm-hmm. So he's the guy that kind of has to look back and go, man, did I make a mistake? But maybe he was done playing school. Who knows? But I mean, for $6 to $8 million, you could find yourself the ability to go to a biology class, I would think.
You would think so.
Or at least maybe even turn on your computer and go online and, play like you're going there. So I don't know. I think it's really interesting to see what happens to these two, and then how it affects others moving forward. Because you would think that whether you're a quarterback or just the star player, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be football, that if you're the parent of an athlete to their level, and maybe you're a former athlete yourself, that you would maybe learn from some of these lessons that these guys have had to learn in front of everybody.
The lesson that you should stay in college and get the NIL money and not come out? Or
the lesson that you should just keep your mouth shut about your kid and what he's going to do, and let your kid, travel through, life as best you can, and advise him, in close quarters, as opposed to through the media and on Twitter and social media and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
That maybe that you should counsel your son or your daughter, and then they can take that advice and say, yeah, I think I know what I'm doing here, old man. And then if they, upon further review, they might go, yeah, you were right, but I had to go learn it for myself.
So you think Deion was a big factor in this?
No, I think Deion molded him, and I think that because of some of, I think he's a reflection of the
that's fair.
Environment that he grew up in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. And
I'm not saying that it's all Deion's fault, because Shedeur's got to take responsibility for how he handled himself in those interviews. You would think that a professional athlete, a former professional athlete, would be able to counsel his son as to how to handle these meetings in a way that, as opposed to just trash it and throw it away.
Yeah, but I mean, just think of who Deion was when he was in college. I mean, he was prime time. I mean, from before he ever stepped on to an NFL field, he was, superstar in 2 different sports. And I bet Deion didn't. I bet the interviews were probably pretty similar with Deion and Shedeur.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're as sophisticated for a defensive back as they are for a quarterback. Sure. Where you're asking them to install a package and go to a grease board and be able to diagram of play and how you would handle it and all those situations. And I think, we talked about this, Jamie, on Friday, the day after the first day of the draft. I felt like with every pick that among the things that the analysts said about that particular player, no matter the position, was how much of a team guy he was, how much of a character guy he was, in addition to whatever their asset was in terms of their ability to block or run or throw or catch or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it just seemed like that was an overwhelming narrative, at least for the first-round draft choices, and that I think teams are much more careful today to look at the entire package as opposed to just to what the person can do on the field.
That's good.
And so I think that's
it's about time.
I think that and look, and not all these guys are model citizens, right? And not all of them are going to go out and be, quote, the man of the year for their team. There's going to be times that they get themselves in trouble and things like that. But I thought that was interesting how that was my perception. I could be off base on that, but that was one of the things that I took away from it was, in general, the overwhelming thing for the first round draft choices seemed to me that they were relatively good people in addition to really good players and took care of their business.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, guys, we are just finished up with the NFL draft this past weekend, and so we're going to have a draft question, not specific to the NFL. Okay, but like kind of a draft question, but kind of just professional sports question.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and kind of it, plays into the Shedeur talk and all of that good stuff. I want you to tell me which Texas Tech athlete. Two answers here, two questions. Which Texas Tech athlete has it surprised you with how good their professional career was, and which Texas Tech athlete has surprised you in the negative way that you thought would have a better career at the next level? This can be baseball, football, basketball, professional soccer league, if you want, whatever.
Okay. I think I'm surprised that Jarrett Culver's NBA career hasn't gone better than it has, based on what he did here and how high he was drafted. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I thought that. And this may be just low-hanging, easy, pick the pear off the lowest branch of the tree. Do you like a good pear? I love a good pear. Jeff knows I love a good pear. If you'd have told me 10 years ago...
I should have taken Patrick Mahomes off the board because nobody expected he would be this great.
Yeah.
Nobody expected that. So, let's take him off the board.
Okay, because Mahomes was going to be
that's totally fair.
Yeah,
totally fair. It's kind of like a layup.
Yeah, that's a layup. So, okay, so who has been better than I thought he would be? Terrence Steele has been better than I thought he would be as a offensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys. I never dreamed that he would have the length of career that he's had and made the money that he's had, based on the fact that he was a free agent not that many years ago coming out of here. And he had a nice college career. I wouldn't say great, because you look at Caleb Rogers. I mean, he's selected in the third round. And Terrence Steele had to go through free agency and then remake his body and then overcome an injury. And so I'll go with those two. Jeff?
Okay.
Terrence Steele is absolutely my answer for shocked. And I will say shocked. Going undrafted, signing as a free agent with the Cowboys, and now being one of the highest paid players at his position in the league. Now, some of that is the Cowboys, and some of that is his play, and absolutely changing who he was to be in the NFL. I can't give him enough credit for the change that he has made to be better at his craft. The guy that I thought was going to go and run the league and didn't. Michael Crabtree.
Oh, yeah.
He might not have been Jerry Rice, because nobody is, but I was not expecting that to happen. Injuries had a lot to do with it.
The holdout had a lot to do with it, too. Just that first camp of just not being prepared for his first season.
But was not expecting that with Crabtree.
So number one on my list of negative surprises was Crabtree. I mean, as good as he was in college, I thought he would be an absolute superstar at the next level. I think the holdout probably affected him his first year. I don't think it affected him past that. But I feel like, yes, injuries were a part of it, but just never became the superstar that I thought he would be at the next level. I mean, he's arguably the greatest college wide receiver in the history of the game. I mean, his numbers were spectacular over 2 years. Okay. And I mean, had 11 years in the NFL, still pretty good. But I mean, some of that were a bit player and just thought he was going to be a superstar and really never turned into that. So that was obviously very disappointing. I think the guy that I would pick that has been the biggest shock to me is Daniel Colome for Texas Tech baseball. Rarely used guy. Played a couple of seasons here, barely played for the Red Raiders, and health was a major reason for it. Now he's 11 years in the big leagues, and he's really good. Okay, just shocking. But that goes to show you, if you're a situational lefty and you can walk and chew gum at the same time and throw left-handed, you got a chance to hang around
and stay healthy. Yeah, like you said.
And he's had a great career in the big leagues. So I think he's the one that's surprised me. I think Jarrett Culver's a good answer too. I mean, when you're drafted that high and as talented as he was, surprising that things haven't worked out better for him.
Yeah. Some names here off the Yates Flooring Center chat line. This is a good one because I don't know that anybody saw this coming out of college. Zach Thomas, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I mean, I expected that he would make himself into a good NFL player. I wouldn't have predicted a Hall of Famer, and other people on the chat line are saying Wes Welker, and I would have never guessed that Wes would have had a long career, with his size.
Yeah, and he's a potential Hall of Famer as well.
I mean, and that's the thing, because there weren't really Wes Welkers in the NFL at that time. And that's the reason why I think he deserves to be a Hall of Famer, is because the game kind of changed because of...
He created a position.
Yeah. And so you didn't really look at Wes and like, well, who's he compared to? Who's he play like in the NFL? Yeah. There wasn't a lot of those guys.
And Julian Edelman owes him, a big favor, right?
Danny Amendola and on and on and on and on.
Right. Yeah. Amendola was a name that I had in my head as well.
The point that I always make when we talk about why he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, every team in the NFL was looking for a Wes Welker type. When you are the definition of a position, you are a Hall of Famer. It's that simple. I know that his numbers aren't necessarily like what everybody else's are in the Hall of Fame, but he was the definition of a position that is still in the NFL.
Somebody brings up Byron Hanspard from a negative, and also Donald Harris, who was a first-round draft choice out of Texas Tech, as guys that didn't pan out. I think it's a little harder on the baseball guys, especially in that era, coming out of a aluminum bat into a wood bat, and trying to sometimes when you come out, it's as a first rounder in baseball, it seems like you may have peaked, as opposed to a guy like a Colome or somebody along those lines that hasn't yet peaked as an athlete. And Donald Harris may have quote peaked as an athlete coming out of Texas Tech. All right, good question.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Nice to have you with us today on the Morning Drive on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. We come to you, Jamie, Jeff, and I, from the First United Bank studio, and look forward to hearing from you on the Yates Flooring Center chat line and see if we can help you with all your trials and tribulations, okay? or just take your sports opinions and your thoughts too. Those are welcome as well. Okay, your concerns about things. I thought about you guys last night. I was getting my dry cleaning, and the guy was blowing leaves in the parking lot next to me, and I just, for the life of me, and I saw this the other day. This guy, I mean, it was blowing. If the wind was blowing 20 miles an hour, it was 30 miles an hour, and he's out there just blowing acorns and leaves, and I'm like, what are you just blowing them into the next person's yard or the next business's, parking lot, or blowing them out in the street? And I think these things should be banned. These
blowers?
Yes, these leaf blowers, unless you're going to pick them up. If you put them into a pile and pick them up and sweep them up and put them in the trash and put them in a bag, put them in your dumpster, it's not that difficult. But these Honyaks, and they're loud, and they're annoying, and they serve no purpose other than just to blow stuff into the next person's yard. It just drives me.
Said yard there. He could have been talking about the morning drive.
Just drives me absolutely insane. I mean, insane. I see it all the
I have a blower,
time.
and I blow my clippings back into my yard.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, but you just said the only
Onto your yard.
But you just said the only thing they're used for is to blow it into other people's yard.
Okay.
That's not true. Plenty of people blow it back into their own yard.
I never see that.
You never see that.
I never see that. Generally speaking, they're blowing it into the curb, into the street, blowing it down the street, just thinking it's just going to go into the...
Well, I'm not going to try to tell you I get every blade of grass back in my yard.
Right.
It's Lubbock, by the way. The wind blows.
I know. I just...
It's going to go wherever it wants to go.
like yesterday, when I'm getting my dry cleaning, I think it's the eye clinic or the bank or whatever it is that's next door. And it's not First United Bank, and it's not Happy State Bank. It's not First Bank and Trust. It's a bank that doesn't do business with us. It's a bad bank. Anyway, the bottom line is it just drives me crazy. And I see city people doing this too. Just, they're 50th and University, just blowing to be blowing. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? Why can't we just pick this stuff up and put it in a trash bag? I just don't get it. What are we doing? Paul, I blow mine into the street. All of us in the hood do so. Get off my lawn. Chuck is in full force this morning. Thank you, Chuck. The inventor of the leaf blower has to be the biggest jerk on the planet. Of all that's wrong with the world, we are worried about blowers. Yep, I am. I was last night. I was just like, it just...
when I see people, like, it's usually at businesses where they blow it off out into the road or whatever, to the street. I bet if I drove by that business 10 to 15 minutes later, it's all gone.
Yeah, it's in somebody else's yard.
No, it just blows away, Chuck.
Where's it blow to?
It's grass clippings.
No, I'm talking about the leaves. Leaves. This from the official. I 100% blow my clippings back into my yard. Okay.
I think you're...
Two of you guys then.
I think that's ludicrous. I think 90% of people, I bet, blow, for the most part, what they can back into their yard because it's good for your grass.
This, Chuck, you are right on the blowers. I just got a flyer from this in the mail from the city saying it's illegal to blow clippings into the street. That's what I'm talking about. Bobby Hot Dogs. Every time I blow my grass clippings into the street, I think of Chuck. I bag my clippings, though, so what goes into the street is pretty minimal. Okay, the Lubbock wind takes it from there. If you're going to be up in arms about it, you also shouldn't be throwing them away. Leaves and clippings should be used for compost. Landfills should not be wasted on leaves and grass clippings. Well, okay. We used to take the leaves in the street and set them on fire and ride our bikes through it. That from Dutch. Yeah, no, I remember people burning leaves. That was a Midwest thing. Did you ever do that?
burn leaves.
Yeah, ever have people like in your neighborhood burn leaves? I remember that. Well, they smell.
I know.
Let the wind blow mine away. Neighbor is 3 miles away. Okay. I try to blow my clippings into Chuck's yard. That from Bucky.
Bucky, I'm so with you. I wish I lived across the street from him. Just
Anyway.
blow him over in front of his house. So what's worse for the city, Chuck? People who do this or people who drive, 10, 15 miles over the speed limit on Marshall Sharp? What's worse? What's worse, Chuck?
I'm not 15 over. No,
it's 20.
No, I think I was at 70 this morning going to work. I was 71, 72. I mean, certainly speeding is bad. Yeah, that's bad. I mean, especially if you hit somebody. But I don't. It just struck me yesterday that we're back into leaf blowing season. And
I don't think leaf blowers are the problem, Chuck. I think there are plenty of people out there who use leaf blowers correctly. They blow their clippings or their leaves back into their own yard.
I would tell you.
I'm sure there are plenty that don't, but to act like nobody does?
7 out of 10 would be my guess that don't do it properly.
With no knowledge, you're throwing out stats. Just no knowledge whatsoever.
In less than 15 minutes, Lubbock grass clippings end up in Throckmorton. Okay, thank you, Sean.
People in Throckmorton are bothered.
I blow mine into a pile on the road. County has a truck that comes by and picks the leaves and grass and hauls it to the collection point for compost. Okay.
Well, if you just blow it into a pile on the road, how long does it stay there?
I don't know.
I can't imagine very long.
I don't know.
By the time the truck gets there, it's gone.
I just had to get that out. I feel better. I need to get that out of my system.
It's ironic that the group called Kansas made a song called Dust in the Wind.
Ta-da! Oh, you're a funny guy. You're a funny guy.
I mean, I have never in my neighborhood, when I drive up and down the streets of my neighborhood, one time been like, why is that guy blowing stuff into the road? I don't ever see it. And why is there grass all over the front of that guy's sidewalk? I never see it.
Okay.
I never see it.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.